Welcome to the Frozen Layer podcast, brought to you by ZenTech Consultant CA, where we will discuss all things related to the CAD, BIM, and construction markets, with a little humor thrown in for good measure. I am your host, Steve Fahey. Let's get into it. Good afternoon and welcome to the Frozen Layer podcast. Our goal with the Frozen Layer is to share valuable information that our CAD, BIM, and construction clients will find useful and help them increase productivity, just like freezing a layer in CAD. I have a special guest joining me today, Rick Ellis from BricsCAD. Rick is the BricsCAD Product Owner for Civil Survey. Rick, welcome to the Frozen Layer podcast.
Hi, thanks, Steve.
I'd like to start by asking our guest for a quick overview of your background.
Sure. I started off initially as a civil designer and CAD manager, so I have done a lot of work on production drawings and in the field. Then I worked for an Autodesk reseller for probably about 5 years. After that, I started my own business and did mainly training, consulting, and wrote some books surrounding Civil 3D and other civil survey software. And then for the last couple of years, I've been working as the product owner for the civil survey industry for BricsCAD.
Excellent. So, just like everybody that's in the industry, there's Autodesk. It just sort of litters throughout everybody's background. As soon as you touch our industry, everybody's got some experience with it.
Exactly.
As you know, I've been representing BricsCAD in Canada here since early 2019. I've seen the product change a lot over that period of time, a lot of new features being added and quite a bit of advancement. Hard to believe it's been almost 5 years already, but you know what they say about time. I'd like you to highlight what tools BricsCAD has for civil engineers and surveyors that have been added in over the last few years.
Sure. Our real focus on the civil survey end of things has been with the tin surface and surface modeling. You know, that really is the heart of most civil survey projects that you work on. And so that's where we have started. We have a really high performance tin surface engine. It can handle large data sets, and the display of it is really pretty fast compared to some of the other products out there. Beyond that, also has been done in conjunction with some of our work with point clouds. So dealing with really large data sets is another thing that is becoming a real challenge in the industry. And we've tried to help give some users tools to address that. And then we also have tools for working with points and point groups. So kind of some of the typical survey aspects of things. And then preliminary design tools for things like alignments, profiles, and corridors. But the real heart of what we've done and the real focus of what we've done has been on creating tin surfaces and then grading for site design projects.
Yeah, I find the general reaction from people when they realize the power of the civil functionality built into BricsCAD. You know, it's not a full civil solution. You're buying a BricsCAD Pro. It's a CAD package. And then they find out they have all this extra functionality that's in there. It's kind of like an eye-opener of what they can actually use it for and what they can do with it.
Exactly. And then for those people, because like you said, it's not a full civil survey package, because honestly, that industry is very, very broad.
Yeah. And
one of our things that we thought about is not just can we build a full civil survey package, but should we? And what you've seen in a lot of products is, you know, trying to be everything to everybody, you know, is difficult because it's really tough to be experts in everything. So what we've done is work on this foundation, and then we have a lot of developer partners that can be there to supplement for users who have really specific needs in more advanced functionality or even regional type functionality.
You may not know this about my background, but I started selling laser scanner technology, the Ferro laser scanner in Trimble back in 2010. So I've been dealing with point clouds for quite a while. Technology was unreal back then. It was like, you know, kid in a candy store when you're going out and doing demos and scanning and showing the client. Like everybody got all excited, and the overall the adoption of point clouds, I think, because I've been exposed to them for so long, has been slower than I was expecting. I think in the early stages, people were, okay, I have this point cloud, now what? What do I do with it? And now it's kind of gone full circle where people are saying, hey, the point cloud by itself has a lot of value. I don't necessarily have to do this conversion, but it's good if you could.
Sure.
However, it seems lately almost everywhere you turn around, you hear people talking about point clouds. And, with the advancements made in the scanner and the technology, the data sets, as you just referenced, are getting larger and larger. How does BricsCAD help manage these larger data sets?
It's a great question, and I'm hearing that from a lot of clients as well. That the technology to collect the data has really improved, not only in quality but in price. It's come down, so it's really accessible for a lot of users. But you certainly can't just bring that 100 million, 500 million, billion point cloud into CAD as actual points and treat them like you would survey data. There's not a CAD package, I don't think, on the planet that would be able to handle that.
Yeah.
So you have to, number one, think about it differently. And one thing that BricsCAD has, which has been a real strong suit for us, is, first of all, just attaching the point cloud. We can do that directly. So you don't have to go to another software and convert to a particular format before you attach that to BricsCAD. You can just take your LAS file or whatever format that happens to be in, any of the standard ones, and attach that directly to BricsCAD. Now, it will convert it during that initial attachment to the hexagon standard point cloud format. But once that's done, everything in BricsCAD is really fast at that point, as far as visualizing that point cloud, whether you want to color it based on elevation or classification or any of the other data that may be attached to that. Then the question becomes, if you're on the civil survey side of things, most everyone wants a tin surface at that point. And that can be really difficult because we can't just take the entire point cloud and shove it into a tin. Again, there's not a tin surface out there that will support that many points. It was never intended to. And so what we've done is try to look at some intelligent ways to filter the point cloud. A real common thing industry-wide is just a grid-based decimation. And unfortunately, that takes that really rich point cloud data and just, dumbs it down. You may have had a really tight cloud, and now it's, a tenth of what it used to be. And unfortunately, our real world isn't built on a grid like that. Right in between that spacing, you may have had curbs and gutters, retaining walls, you name it. We've just missed all of that. So what we've done is given the user some tools that they can customize themselves. And by customize, I just mean input their own parameters to them to manage what points are kept and put into the tin surface and which points are skipped. So it works basically off of a horizontal radius and an elevation difference. So, for example, if I said my horizontal radius is 5 meters, my elevation difference is 0.05 meters, what it would do is skip any points that are inside of that tolerance, because that would be considered quote unquote flat, or we don't have an elevation change. The tin doesn't need more data in that area. Anything else is going to be kept. And so we'll pick up that retaining wall, curb and gutter or whatever elevations to be there, and add that to the surface. Now, that's kind of step one in our process. It might be good enough for you, but one thing that you notice I didn't mention during that was I didn't say which point we kept within that 5 meter radius. So that can make a big difference to your tin as well. So we then give the user the ability to go back and densify either the entire surface or just areas within the surface. And again, the user gets to put in parameters of what the elevation difference that they would like to attain would be. And then instead of looking at just a radius or whatever, it goes in and measures a vertical difference between each point in the point cloud and the actual triangles in the tin surface. So that gives us a really tight, accurate surface in the areas that you care about, within the tolerance that you care about.
Yeah, that's quite impressive when you show that live in the product. We've done some webinars on that, and I encourage people to look for those and see that technology being shown live. You mentioned hexagon in your answer there, talking about the hexagon point cloud format.
Yes.
Brings me to my next point that a lot of people in the industry don't know that Bricsys is part of the hexagon group. When I first started 5 years ago almost, I'd call the clients up I dealt with for 30 years with Autodesk and say, yeah, I'm representing Bricsys BricsCAD. Be like, what's BricsCAD? And, oh, we're part of the hexagon group. Okay, who's saying, well, Leica, Intergraph. Oh, yeah, I know those guys. So, obviously they have a lot more divisions than Leica and Intergraph. But Hexagon is an absolute massive player in the technology world with 24,000 employees operating offices in 50 countries. And, I like to point out where their technology is that you wouldn't expect it. 95% of car manufacturers use Hexagon technology. 75% of smartphones have Hexagon technology. 90% of airplanes have technology from Hexagon. So it's literally everywhere in your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
How do you find, getting back to Bricsys, how do you find the relationship between Hexagon and BricsCAD really drives innovation?
Well, that's a great point, because I think, Steve, a lot of people don't know that there is a connection there in a lot of cases. And part of that's a good thing, part of that's a bad thing in some ways, because for the most part, although Bricsys was acquired by Hexagon roughly about 5 years ago, Bricsys is still allowed to operate as, for the most part, as an independent entity. They're a part of Hexagon. Certainly, they report to Hexagon, but the direction of the company, the direction that we take, is still benefits from kind of that small startup feel in a lot of ways. But like you said, there are resources beyond what a small company would have. And one of those that you mentioned was that, we're part of Leica Geosystems in that division. Leica is a big part of Hexagon. And on the civil survey side, of course, all of your listeners probably know of, Leica survey and scanning equipment.
Yeah.
And that allows us to partner with them to integrate and give the user a better experience moving data from one to the other. We're not where we want to be with that yet, but I can tell you, I know, I work with the Leica team quite often and communicate with them. We have a lot going on coming up within the next few years, planning-wise, to even build a tighter integration between those. So there's some exciting things going on there.
Excellent. It's you do see a lot of advancement related to a lot of the Leica technology, like you said, especially creeping into BricsCAD and making it that much better, which is really good to see. So we're going to break for. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think what our users want is just to be able to really easily get that data out of Leica hardware and into their CAD environment. So that's what we're really focused on. And I had a customer the other day that is in the process of moving to BricsCAD and tell us that they bought the Leica hardware with all of these bells and whistles, what they're really excited about. But their current CAD solution doesn't allow them to take advantage of, a quarter of that functionality, or as he called them, the bells and whistles and widgets that were part of the hardware they bought. So they're frustrated because they're not able to fully use that awesome tool that they were excited about when they purchased it because of just poor communication with their CAD software.
Yeah.
That's something that we are actively working to address and give those Leica users a really good experience there.
Which is nice, and that's what you want to see from, two solutions under one umbrella. You want to see that tight integration.
Yes, exactly.
All right, we're going to break for a quick commercial, and we'll be right back. Today's Frozen Layer podcast is being brought to you by our Zentech Development Division. Zentech has developed ZenEstimate Tools. Our solution runs on top of your Bluebeam Review, the world's leading takeoff and estimating solution. ZenEstimate provides you with all the estimating tools you need for fast, accurate, and consistent quantity takeoff and estimating. ZenEstimate tools for Bluebeam Review can save you hundreds, if not thousands, of hours on your projects and help provide consistent output and results across your entire company. To learn more about ZenEstimate Steel and ZenEstimate HVAC, visit our website, zentechconsultants.net, or give us a call, 866-824-4459, or you can email sales@zentechconsultants.net. Zentech Consultants CA for all your technology consulting needs. And welcome back to the Frozen Layer. So Rick, as mentioned, I've been representing BricsCAD for a while now, and we've had really good success up here in Canada helping clients move to BricsCAD. Many clients I find, they want to just like, hey, I've got 5 seats, I got 20 seats, I want to move them all over. I just want to have BricsCAD, and that's worked great. We're happy to have a client move everything over. But recently, what I find is a lot of clients are happy with their current technology or in a position where they're saying, we have to be compatible with the industry standard. We're bidding on large contracts. We have to be able to deliver the format they're using. But we still have gaps in our technology that we're looking to fill. And they're looking at BricsCAD to fill specific needs and work within their existing technology. Do you mind touching on the drawings created by BricsCAD and how compatible they are with other programs, for example, like a Civil 3D?
Sure, it's a really important point because very few of us get to operate on an island all by ourselves where we don't have to communicate with other people, whether that's consuming drawing data from others or providing it to clients, like you said. So we've done quite a few things within BricsCAD to make that much easier, particularly for our civil survey customers. And that all starts with the fact that we are DWG compatible. So your AutoCAD drawing is going to open in BricsCAD. You can work on it. You can save it. It's still the same format. It's not a translation from there. But all of our civil customers know if they interact with Civil 3D drawings have a bunch of other stuff in them. Yeah. All of your different specific civil objects that are there. So first off, if you just open up a drawing that has those in it, that'll actually display properly in BricsCAD. You can print it and work with it. They are going to be displayed as proxy graphics, but there is no need for you to install an object enabler or anything like that. It's just all part of the program, and it all comes from the ODA or the Open Design Alliance there. Now, those are just proxy graphics, so you don't really have any data that comes along with those. On the import end, we do have an import from Civil 3D command that will actually allow you to look at a Civil 3D drawing and bring in the points, point groups, alignments, profiles, and surfaces from that, and have them written into BricsCAD as the BricsCAD equivalent of those entities. So if you've got a drawing with a Civil 3D surface in it, we can import that surface and it'll have the entire surface definition there in BricsCAD as a BricsCAD tin surface.
Excellent.
Now on the going the other direction, if you save a drawing that has a bunch of BricsCAD objects in it for surfaces, points, alignments, and so on, that will also open in Civil 3D again as proxy graphics on there. But the other option for you, of course, is you can export to land XML and import that into Civil 3D and get the full resolution of that data. And in particular, someplace that will really show up is we talked about building that optimized tin surface from a point cloud.
Yeah.
We've had customers who really like that technology and they want to use it just to solve that one problem for them. They can do that all within BricsCAD, build the optimized tin surface in BricsCAD, and then just export it to land XML and use it in whatever other program they want to. They can bring it into Civil 3D, they can bring it into a Bentley product, a Carlson product, whatever, and they'll have that same optimized tin surface there that they can work with and take advantage of for the life of their project.
Yeah, and that's one thing that you and I have spoken about before, and we did a webinar on it earlier this year, showing clients how BricsCAD is, more efficient in bringing that data in, creating the tin surface, and then just slide it over to Civil 3D and carry on with your project. And once you get the tin surface in Civil 3D, that's the foundation for your project moving forward. So it's a much cleaner, more responsive surface that you're dealing with, and it's not dragging down your project as you move forward. So it's good for people to have an understanding of how compatible we are and how we can work within their environment and not disrupt. So that's always a fear that people have when they look at bringing something new in. So it's nice to discuss how we can really be a companion seat. So
exactly. I mean, you can really think of it as we can coexist right alongside your existing Civil 3D if that's what you're working with. Another place that really becomes important is that what we've seen in the industry is more and more of the what I would call part-time CAD users, the guy who needs to get into CAD or their civil product for an hour a day, or maybe even less, a couple hours a week or something like that. With the changes in licensing, that all of a sudden for many people has become very expensive, whereas BricsCAD is still very flexible within their licensing model. So you can still have network licenses, you can have perpetual licenses, you can do it as subscription. It's kind of an all of the above approach that Brixis has taken. And you don't have to then purchase a full seat for every single user who might want to open it once in a while, just to open up and look at that drawing and print it or measure a distance or edit a note or something like that.
Yeah, and it's a very good point. Just within the last week and a half, I've had 2 clients that have purchased BricsCAD licenses from us because they're growing, they're experiencing growth, which is good, but they didn't really want to go spend money and acquire more AEC licenses from Autodesk due to cost. So they took internal users that had a license but really didn't require it, but needed some functionality more than AutoCAD could deliver. So they bought BricsCAD for those users and took the existing AEC collection they had and moved it over to the new employee that was going to be doing full-on Civil 3D work. So it works well in allowing them to take advantage of investments they've already made and add new licenses at a lower cost to meet their actual requirements.
Exactly. And that's, I think we're probably going to continue to see more and more of that because, I think the industry went through this, and I saw this myself as a CAD manager, where when network licensing was kind of the norm, it was, oh, well, we'll install CAD on everyone's machine, and if they need it, they'll launch it and pull a license out of the pool, and if they don't, it doesn't cost us anything.
Yeah.
With named user, of course, that has all changed, and people are looking for solutions to that because it's really tough to go back to these users who have become accustomed to the fact that they could have access to CAD on demand when they needed it. And now when they're being told, well, you don't really justify a full license, we're going to take that away and make you, go through someone else for it or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's typically the, project manager or an engineer who, are not the power users, but an engineer I was dealing with a couple months ago, he's, I had an idea, and no matter how hard I tried to explain it to the production team, they just couldn't get it. And he said, I downloaded BricsCAD, and an hour and a half later, I went back in with a drawing file. He said, I'd never used BricsCAD before. Went back in and showed them my idea, and they're like, oh, okay, I get it now. Yeah, we should do it that way. And, they now own a number of BricsCAD licenses because it works so well. They're like, we need this in our office. So they purchased BricsCAD Pro for their engineers to have access to a drawing package, but the cost to get the AEC collection in there was prohibitive, so they weren't looking at that as an option. So they were happy to give BricsCAD a try and see how well it worked.
Perfect.
So one of the next topics I'd like to touch base on is, it's only been not quite 2 months now since version 24 of BricsCAD was introduced. And one of the announcements for version 24 that I'm quite excited about was the introduction of GIS inside of BricsCAD. I'd like you to give us a quick overview of what GIS data in BricsCAD means for our existing and for our potential clients.
Sure. It is something we're very excited to have come out here in V24. Prior to V24, we had the real basic ability just to import and export shapefiles. And you could look at the data and maybe edit it through the properties panel, but that was about as far as we went. And with V24, now we have a much richer user interface going along with that. We have the ability to also import drawings that maybe were created in AutoCAD Map or Civil 3D that have object data attached to those. And that object data can be converted into the BricsCAD GIS data format, which is all saved in the DWG file. And then we have a table editor, essentially, that will let you look at that GIS layer, see all of the data within a table. You can pick on a row and go find the associated object in the drawing, or vice versa. You can pick an object in the drawing and go find it in that table, do all your editing there. And then, of course, export that file if you want to send it out as well. But our real goal with this is just to allow CAD users to participate in GIS workflows. Whether that means you want to bring it in as just background data for your project, and it's kind of a one-way street, or if you're more involved in true mapping projects and need to create and edit and manage that GIS data that will eventually get exported and put into a GIS system of really any type.
Excellent. It's nice to see new functionality getting added on a regular basis. That's going to help people take advantage of what's there.
Yeah, and really, we're not trying to be a full GIS program or system. The folks at Esri have done a very good job of that. What we're trying to do is be GIS for those CAD users who need to be part of that workflow and don't necessarily want to either learn GIS software or purchase licenses for it, and that can take advantage of the things that CAD is really good at. Editing geometry, creating geometry, those things that CAD has always been very strong in. We know that the GIS system is super strong in doing data analysis and creating beautiful maps and things like that. We're not going to try to really get into that space. We want to just provide access to CAD users to be able to use that data and work in an environment they're already familiar with and they're already comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said earlier, be a companion to what's already out there and gain access to the information that's available to have more information for your project.
Exactly.
Excellent. You mentioned earlier about the BricsCAD Civil. It's a fundamental tool. Where we're not
Hmm.
saying we can replace Civil 3D, but if somebody needed more than the functionality that's built into just generic BricsCAD, what do you recommend to like a civil engineer or a surveyor that is interested in BricsCAD but saying it just doesn't quite get far enough down the road for what I need?
Um, what I would say to them is, number one, we have a lot of options for you. We have a very large partner network that develops on top of BricsCAD as their platform. We also, or the other thing I would say is go talk directly with your reseller, or call up Steve basically and talk with him about uh, this is what I do. What are your recommendations for me? Because our partner network, like I said, is very large, and the intent there is that you can have tools available for the specific types of workflows you need or specific regional needs that you might have. As I've talked with customers all over the world, certainly things like road design in the US are really approached differently than they are in Europe or South America, or fill in the blank with that. There are a lot of regional needs there, and that's one of the real strengths of having a diverse partner network like we do.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I'd like to thank you, Rick, for joining me today on the Frozen Layer podcast. And until next time, keep freezing those layers.